Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. This is the English translation of the Majlis of Hazrat Maulana Qamar Uzzaman Saheb, Damat Barakatuhum, which took place on Thursday, the 6th of Safar, 1445, corresponding with the English date, 24th of August 2023. Hazrat Wala starts off this majlis by reciting the ayat of the Quran Majid, ثُمَّ تَابَ عَلَيْهِمْ لِيَتُوبُوا. He then turned in kindness to them so that they may turn to him in the future as well. You know, a person has a certain spiritual state, and that comes to an end, das hal, and it comes to an end. But then if he gets back to his path again and starts searching and seeking, then most definitely Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless him with it again. And that zikr and shaghal, by means of which he achieved that, when he leaves it out, then eventually that what becomes of it, he loses that which he has achieved. Hazrat Sayyidina Abdul Qadir Jilani, someone said to him that, Hazrat, you have become wasil, you conquered, you achieved, you reached, and you're still reading the tasbih and all that. He said, usi se wasil hua. It is because of the barakat of this wazifas and this tasbih, etc., that I reached. Now, do you want me to leave this and abandon this? Musa alayhi salatu wassalam was going to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and going to speak to him. On the way, he sees this stone. So the stone then asks, where are you going to? He says, I'm going to meet Allah. So he says that tell Allah that He must make me wasil, that I also want to reach. Nevertheless, on his return, he comes and when he reaches Allah, he says what he has to do. Allah accepts that, and on his return, he conveys that message to that stone. Nevertheless, after some time, he passes by the same place and he finds that same stone crying, like how he found it the first time, and put a request. He said, but now what makes you cry? You have reached, you have achieved. He says that due to that very same crying that I achieved and became wasil and reached Allah, do you want me to abandon that? Allahu Akbar. Now tariq, this path for different people would be most definitely different. You know, our Hazrath used to say, "Hum kila pila karke pahuncha dete hai," that we feed them and give them to drink and we let them reach their destination. And for some, it's hasa ke, and for others, it's rula ke. You make them laugh and they also reach their destination. And for others, they have to cry and then they reach their destination. Regarding the Sahaba, some of them had so much abundance of wealth. Despite all of that, they reached the highest stages. Now, if the dunya was a barrier, if the dunya, this dunya and wealth, etc., was a barrier for the akhirat, then why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam dunya and hukumat? Rather, he gave him to such an extent that no one ever enjoyed dunya and hukumat and rule and dominance to the level that Sulaiman alayhi salatu wasalam was blessed with. Now from this we learn that it's not that dunya, rather nafs ki shararat ki wajah se. It is because of the mischiefness and of the nafs that a person doesn't achieve So at-turuqu ila Allah biqadri al-anfasil khalaiq. The paths to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are so numerous, so abundant, they are equal not to all the makhluk of Allah that He had created, rather to the breaths of all the makhluk. I mean, a person breathes. The breaths that they have taken of all the makhluk put together, that's the amount of paths that a person can adopt in reaching Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, it is for this reason that you should not mock and laugh at someone. On one occasion, Hazrat Tanvi was invited. Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Saheb was also there. And what did he say? Cow, that eat. And what was all that about? I mean, Khanqa, he's with the Sheikh and the Sheikh is telling him eat. Meaning, if you ate according to the pleasure of Allah, then you will reach. And sometimes food is desired, meaning eating is desired. And sometimes not to eat is desired. It's also written that the tajalliyat and the nur that every person gets is so different. The nur that Hazrat Sayyidina Abdul Qadir Jilani got. It was not necessary that Sayyidina Muhyiddin Arabi got that same nur. Rather, everyone was so different from the other. And in all of that, there was also wahdat. Each person had his own type of nur. There's so much of difference between two people or different people. Okay, let me say that again. Sometimes there's so much of similarity between different people, but then too they are so different from one another. Hazrat Maulana Muhammad Ahmad Saheb used to say, like how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is wahid, He's one, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has also made every person so unique and different and His own and one. So much so that if a person is sitting on the mataf or just there in front of the Kaaba and just looking at the hundreds and thousands of people making tawaf, you will come to this conclusion that each and every one is so different. None of them are the same. Each and every individual is different. So Allah is this one Zat who is Qadir, who is capable, and He is the grand creator, Sani', and in His own way He has created every person so differently. When I went to reunion, then I think you were also with, and Mahbub was also with us. Hazrat Wala is saying, you were also with Hazrat Wala. There is referring to Maulana Iqbal Saheb of Zambia. So nevertheless, he asked me and he said to me that you coming from that part of the world, tell me about the Naqshbandi Sheikh Hazrat Maulana Shah Fadlur Rahman Ganj Muradabadi. And anyway, I related to him. So sometimes the more beloved a person is, the more he is made to wait. And you would see that at certain times when distribution takes place, the one who is the most beloved, he is made to wait the longest. Why? There is something in that. There is some type of pleasure in the one who is distributing that he is perceiving and gaining and enjoying in seeing this person there waiting. Now we don't even know these type of things. We don't even understand these type of concepts. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Himself also does this to His beloveds. That sometimes that when they are making dua, they are so close to Allah, but Allah Ta'ala doesn't accept that dua immediately. Rather, He lets them make ruju and turn to Him over and over again. That this person is standing and he's begging and his attention is to me. Now, some people say that, oh no, he doesn't have confidence in him. That's why it's taking so long to give him and he's making him wait so much. They think it is a matter of the far distance between the giver and the one who's receiving, whereas they do not understand the concept that how close they are. And Hazrat Wala is giving this example that in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, many times it is like this as well. Now Maulana Room has written that sometimes the Buzrugane-Deen also, they are asked so many times they are asking, but there is a delay in their answer. So anyway, this I have in front of me. When he asked me that time, I said it off the cuff and I related it to him, due to which he appreciated it a lot. Today I am going to read it out for you. Now, how many times did I not read it out? But they don't even know or can't even remember even one malfuz. Can you tell me one more malfuz? Do you even know one? I don't even think so. Illa mashallah. Except, of course, there is an exception. Some do know. Yahi baagh hai apna, yahi maidan. This passing on and these talks of the Buzrugane-Deen is so much. It means to me, this is my garden. That sometimes I go down this route of the garden and that route of the garden, and I take so much of pride and I gain so much of joy from this year. Hazrat Wala is saying, "Was'at dil ke sair kiya karte hai e imdad, yahi baagh apna, yahi maidan." In the vastness of the heart, the person then strolls, O imdad. This is his garden. This is his maidan, his fields. He doesn't need any scenery. He doesn't need this or that or the other. He takes a walk down the paths in his heart. Now, what is this here? This is actually the cream and the essence of Quran and Hadith. Maybe that would be fiqh zahiri, the external dimension of it. And here on this side, we are explaining the internal dimension of it. So here, फरमाया कि कहने की बात तो नहीं, लेकिन तुमसे कहता हूँ कि जब मैं सजदा करता हूँ तो ऐसा मालूम होता है जैसे अल्लाह ने प्यार कर लिया. अल्लाह ने प्यार कर लिया. It is not something to say, but I'm saying it to you. When I go into prostration and sajda, I feel as though Allah Ta'ala has kissed me, that Allah has made me His beloved. Now Allah Ta'ala make our hal like that. Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Saheb used to also, his sajda was also like that, with so much of lajajat, so much of girya ozari, so much of persistence, importunity, so much of admiration, so much of earnestness and humble request. That's a type of sajda that Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Saheb used to carry out. Now he came, I was very young at that time, and I'm saying to myself, such a great Buzruk, but he's in sajda and he's crying. I was astonished and amazed at that. Hazrat Wala quotes another waqia of Hazrat Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, where he's going to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and he sees this stone crying. And then Musa alayhi salatu wasalam engages with this stone and he says that, why are you crying? Now we just cut it short for you to give it to you and you can understand the lesson from there. He says, I'm crying because وَقُودُهَا النَّاسُ وَالْحِجَارَةِ, that the fuel of fire hell is man and stones. Out of fear of Allah, I am crying. Musa alayhi salatu wasalam went to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, gave that message. Allah gives the reply that I have blessed you with amnesty and you will be protected, you will be excluded from that, you will not become the fuel of the fire of Jahannam. He conveys the message and then he continues. But on another occasion, when then he passes by again, he finds the very same stone crying. And on inquiry, now why do you cry? Allah has pardoned you, you're not from amongst them, you will be saved, you will be in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it says, the stone then replies and says to Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, O Musa, it was because of this very same crying that Allah blessed me with this. Now tell me, do you want me to abandon this crying? Allahu Akbar. Now Maulana Room has to such a great extent quoted all these type of waqiyat. Some people even leave out their faraiz. And what do they say? We have become wasil. We have reached Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So beshak, no doubt in that. Wasil, but not wasil ilallah. You have not reached Allah. Rather, wasil ilan-nar. You have reached the fire of Jahannam. So, from the thing that they had achieved, that was that they maintained and continued doing over and over again. You won't find this type of statements in the Malfuzat and in the statements of Hazrat Tanvi. But Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab really like these Malfuzat of Hazrat Maulana Shah Fadlur Rahman Ganj Moradabadi. Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab, he was a orator, wise par excellence. Then too he would keep kitab in front of him. And whoever would come, he would relate to them. Even though it would be someone like Hazrat Maulana Ali Miah Sahab, he would go on to say, and quote the ibarat, saying that qat uttama anin nas wa amma fi aidin nas wa husnul khulq ma'a kulli ahad. That he would say, abandoning, that turn your attention away. Don't have greed and hopes in the possessions of people and what they have with them. However, together with that there, meaning with your independence, don't forget the second part. Now, Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab used to add all of this in between, that it is greatly possible that when you are independent, now this some type of dryness in your character and in your nature is created, due to which now you start treating people indifferently. Therefore, Hazrat Shah Sahab mentions this as his second point immediately after that. وَحُسْنُ الْخُلْقِ مَعَ كُلِّ أَحَدٍ. That independence is there. You don't have hopes in what they have with them in their possessions. Your gaze is on Allah. But together with that, you should treat them with the best of character. Husnul khulq ma'a kulli ahad. And sometimes certain people are simple or poor, and just with something meager they would become happy. But others, you have to go an extra mile to actually please them. a person extends favor, he has ihsan upon someone. But perfection lies in this, that whatever he has done for that person, he forgets about all of that. So nevertheless, I was telling you about the salah of Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab. It was absolutely amazing. I was astonished at his lajajat and khushamad, how he's begging and crying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that sajda. There was a buzruk, and he would say, I take sabak and nasihat from everything. So somebody then just asked him, so what sabak you took from the cat? So he says that I took the sabak of lajajat. The same thing, that you just see how earnest and how humble it is in its request. It will come and it will sit there, and the persistence, that's what I learned from the cat. So learn these type of great lessons and don't ever leave the door of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah ta'ala ke dar ko na choro. Don't leave and abandon the door of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, is this tasawwuf? Rather, I would say this is deen. On one occasion, rather, this is mentioned in the hadith as well, where the mother was separated from the bird. The mother and the child are separated, due to which the mother is hovering above, and Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam sees this scene and spectacle and says, what's happening? He calculates it, and then he says, no, don't do that. Release it and let the two of them be together. So it was not only for insan, but rather for animals as well. People used to say, if you want to see the salat of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then you should see the salat of Ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu ta'ala an. Why? He was ashbah bi salatin Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His salat held the closest resemblance to the salat of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. From all of this, we learn that people would look at the salat of others. Mauli Amin, who was there, he and Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab, both of them, in their student days, they were great Sufis, and others would mock at them looking at their salat, saying, look at how humbly they reading their salat and how they bowing like this and that. They made a mock of them. Nevertheless, many years later, Mauli Amin comes and then he says, Mauli Wasiullah, these people that used to laugh at us, that we're reading namaz like this and like that and like the other, but their namaz, when I look at them today, it is exactly the same how it was back there in the day. Just how haphazardly they read their salat and without any type of sincerity. That's how it was, that's how it is today. And then he went on to say, or rather Hazrat Wala then remarks on this here and then says and gives the lesson that shuru se jab koi baat chalti hai to rehti hai. That if something is there from the initial years of a person's life, then things like that remain. So what do? Don't we do tamreen? Don't you do these exercises in your books when your ustad gives it to you? Take from Arabic and put into Urdu. Put from Urdu into Arabic. From Arabic into Arabic in a different way. Tamreen. Yes, it's there. Make mashq and do those exercises. Do your homework. It's fine. It's in its place. But also make tamreen and mashq of the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so it can become entrenched. The remembrance of Allah can become deeply rooted in your heart. Zikr ki tamreen. The khanqa is a place of dhikr. Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab's place, some of you would be able to relate to that. The khanqa was there, the masjid was there, the madrasa was there, Hazrat's house was there. And then he would look from that side while we were carrying out and making the dhikr, and then he would even say to his daughters, meaning gesture of happiness and delight. See how they're making dhikr. Just look at how they're making dhikr. He would be pleased with that, and he would take pleasure from even that spectacle of seeing us making dhikr. In the khanqa, there must be a ma'mul and a habit and a practice of making zikr. Similarly, is that of tahajjud. In suluk and tasawwuf, the importance and the daraja of suluk, of tahajjud. Yes, tahajjud. Read tahajjud salat. And if you cannot do that, at least perform it after your isha salat. And if you cannot even do that, then read it at the time of Ishraq Salat, but at least take the name of Tahajjud. At least take the name of Tahajjud. You know that dua at the time of Tahajjud drives away and repels and throws away 1,000 calamities. So you would not find this here in the Malfuzat of Hazrat Tanvi, but it is mentioned here. In another of his Malfuz, Hazrat Maulana Shah Fadhur Rahman says that by Jannat ka maza bar haq, Hauz hai Kausar ka maza bar haq, magar namaz mein jo maza hai, kisi cheez mein nahi. The pleasure of Jannah in paradise is in its place. The pleasure of the fount of Kauthar is in its place. However, there can be no pleasure like the one which is experienced in Salat. Now this alone will tell you what type of a passion he had for Salat and of what type of a level his Salat could have been. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam never experienced any difference in his bond with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the perfect and perpetual consciousness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He never found any difference in that despite the many afflictions which he had to endure. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself said, "Li ma'allahi waqtun la yasa'ani fihi malakun muqarrab wala nabiyyun mursal." That I have a time with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wherein neither a close angel nor a prophet can interrupt me. Hazrat Wala then also quotes, and he speaks about, it is related that Hazrat Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala anha sought permission to present herself before him. So Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked, when she knocked or asked for permission, "Who are you?" She replied, "I am Aisha." He asked, "Which Aisha?" She replied, "The daughter of Abu Bakr." He asked, "So who's Abu Bakr?" She replied, "The son of Abu Quhafa." Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam still could not recognize her. Allahu Akbar. Hazrat Aisha used to be with him all the time, but his heart was empty of her as well. Due to this, he could not recognize her. Now from this we gauge, and from other conditions also we gauge how he acquired such a perpetual presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that no Muslim can even imagine it. That huzur daimi. Allahu Akbar. But today, what is it? For just some few rupees and rands, for this dunya, we abandon Allah, we shift our attention. And for some beloveds here in this world, we abandon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Listen, this is against Tawheed and the oneness of Allah. Wahidullah, proclaim the oneness of Allah. فَإِنَّ التَّوْحِيدِ رَأْسُ الطَّاعَاتِ, because verily the oneness and Tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is the heights, rather it is the essence of all acts of worship, without which those ibadat are nothing if it is empty of Tawheed. तो दिया पयाम कुछ ऐसा सुकूत सहरा ने कि गया मैं भूल गुलिस्ता के सारे अफसाने, that the silence of solitude and sitting in the jungles and in the desert gave such a message, such a message, such ulum, such ma'arif, such that came nuzul into the heart that I forgot everything that I even knew. Even those waqiyats that are so captivating in Gulista, in Bosta, in the heart in which Allah is not there. What type of heart is that? Hazrat Khaja Masoom used to say, that I am amazed and astonished at this year that the person who doesn't have the love of Allah in his heart, tell me, how is he even loving? Now Saheb Fathul Bari goes on to say, Muhabbatullahi ala qismain, the love of Allah can be distributed into two categories. Now who's talking? It is Allama Ibn Hajar Asqalani. He is a muhaddith. He's writing the Shara of Bukhari Sharif. He is saying, the love of Allah can be distributed into two categories, fardun wa nudubun, one of a compulsory nature and the other of an optional nature. The one which is of a compulsory nature, so much of love of Allah you must have that will make you, lead you and bring you to this, that you can carry out your acts which are compulsory. Today, Muslims claim that they have muhabbat and love, but they abandon something as salat. They're making big claims of piety and this and that and the other, but they got no connection with salat. Allah Ta'ala give us the tawfiq and the hidayat of understanding this path of His tariq. So hold on to that, to the Quran and to the rope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah se Rabt and makhluk se duri, connected with Allah and disconnected from the creation. But in all of that, it doesn't mean, or in no way are we saying that you do not fulfill the hukuk and the rights of fellow people. You fulfill their rights, but you are connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. سئل رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عن أكثر ما يدخل الجنة. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam was asked regarding that which by means of people will be granted admission into Jannah in abundance. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, Taqwallah wa husnul khulq, the fear of Allah and good character. Hazrat Wala is saying there was a very huge gathering, rather it was at the Jalsa, Taziyat Jalsa of Maulana Abdullah Kapodra. And at that time I said to them and related to them, or was it on another occasion? And I said, لا يكون العالم عالما حتى يكون فيه ثلاث خصال, that an alim cannot be an alim in the true sense until or unless he possesses three qualities. لا يحسدن من فوقه, he should not have hasad for his seniors. Rather, he should humble himself in front of them. It is only then that they will open up to him and he will achieve and progress with the fuyuz and barakat. But he has to humble himself in front of them. So, how can he ever be jealous of them? If he is jealous of them, he will never humble himself in front of them. So, you can never ever be jealous of your seniors. And وَلَا يَحْتَقِرَنَّ مَنْ دُونَهُ, and never ever understand to be insignificant your juniors. Meaning, rather show love, affection, compassion to them. Enhance them, praise them, motivate them. And the third one, وَلَا يَأْخُذُ عَلَىٰ عِلْمِهِ ثَمَنًا وَلَا يَأْخُذُ ثَمَنًا عَلَىٰ عِلْمِهِ, and he does not take or seek a reward for his knowledge. His knowledge is from Allah. Allah has blessed him with that knowledge. So, isn't this something that we should turn our attention to? Shouldn't we memorize this? Shouldn't we push it deep down into our hearts and in our minds? So the talaba, like just how they have this earnestness and this quest and desire to learn, the asatiza should have also this type of earnestness, quest, desire, talab to impart. There was a Buzruk, he came and he visited a certain place, but one of his celebrated students didn't come, due to which that Buzruk and that Sheikh said that uska halka e dars jamega nahi, that his lesson and classes of dars will not be successful and he will not be able to initiate it or sustain it, meaning he will not be successful in that. So, in the eyes of his teacher, he's lost his level. So the asatiza you have of the zahir and the batin, जिसने मिटाया अपना नामो निशा हफ्त इकलीम का बना सुल्तान. Hazrat Maulana Muhammad Ahmad Saheb, looking at the ash'ar of a Hazrat Haji Imdadullah, he used to say these couplets, that the person who humbles himself, self-effacement, annihilation of oneself completely and totally, will reign supreme, meaning Allah will give him such honor. मैं तो अपना नामो निशा मिटा बेटा, शोहरा उड़ा दिया मेरा किसने, that I hid myself, I erased all traces of myself. I just wonder so, who has made me so popular, who has spread fame about me like this. So Allama Sha'rani is saying, just like how the student is in need of you, the same amount, or rather even more than that, you are in need of the student, because you have that seed, but you have no place to plant it without or in the absence of that student. So Allah give us the tawfiq and the hidayat of taking ibrat from these talks. Allah Ta'ala bless us with His muhabbat and His nisbat and this grand connection with Him. Bless us, our awlad, our family, our children, sabko, all. And this tariq and this path is Allah. It belongs to Allah. So ask it from Him. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم بحرمة سيد النبي الكريم صلى الله عليه وسلم.